What is going on, everybody? I wanted to do this earlier this weekend, like on Friday night or Saturday or something like that, but things didn't work out like that. Yeah, just adult stuff. But I'm back, so I hadn't gone nowhere. You know, it wasn't another hiatus or anything. I was just trying to get some things straightened out, and I wasn't up for doing a stream, not a stream, but a video. But I'm back in action, doing ready to do some more content. I don't know everything about Baki. I used to because I watched it back in 2012, and then I watched it again on Netflix when it was Baki. Um, and then I think I watched when he fought his dad and the whole and for the last time, things like that. Uh, what this is? No, I don't care about that. But without further ado, we're gonna get started. So I'm watching a review to get refresh my memory on it, so I can start talking about more of it and other different types of continuities. Because I haven't watched Baki, the Baki the grappler. I hadn't watched it since 2012. So yeah, just bear with me. We're gonna get it. I'm gonna get my mind back to lot more is gonna come to my memory once I watch some scenes and different things like that. Might have to find an old one and rewatch it just to get my mind back to going and flowing on all the things that's happened in the series. Just like I'll be doing Bleach content soon, but I don't know what. I don't know enough about it yet to really do it. I have to reflect because I used to watch it again, but it was so long ago that I've probably forgotten a whole lot about it. So I had to go back and rewatch. I had to go back and rewatch it. You know, I already started rewatching it. I think I'm up at the Bound arc now. Um, but I had to go keep on. I had to keep on watching because I'm a long way off from. And then you got the Thousand Bloodwater arc, and that hadn't even watched it yet. So I'm way behind. And you have to, and just watching the series doesn't give you enough context to discuss it because it's a lot more in there after your first watch. Just it's a lot more in there versus it's like with Dragon Ball. I can talk about that all day because I watched it from front to back, from front to back, from front to back. Yu Yu Hakusho, I know enough about it to talk about different arcs because I watched it so many times. Same way with a few other animes, but this is just one of them. This one in Bleach, I have to watch them enough to actually grasp everything because each time you watch it, you get something different out of it. So it's not always the same. But let's get into it. We don't want to keep rambling. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot in there, you know.
A young competitive fighting prodigy on his quest to one day surpass his father, the invincible and terrifying Yujiro Hanma. The series has been in publication for 27 years, over 132 volumes, which can be divided into 4 separate parts. In terms of anime, Baki has received a 50-minute 1994 OVA and a 2-season 2001 series,
Yeah, I remember that when he was young,
only to fall into hiatus for 17 years.
when he was going through all his training that he needed, all the training that he needed to face his dad. It was kind of tragic too because he was a disappointment. How he was trying to, his mother would verbally abuse him because he wasn't measuring up to what his father wanted him to be and all this kind of stuff. It was just tragic.
which it only recently emerged from with this year's Netflix original anime simply titled Baki, which I'm very happy about because despite everything I said in the first four
And I like how the Baki ended. I like how that series ended. If you hadn't watched it, go watch it. But when he finally, his dad finally was able to bond and kind of get, he finally was able to get respect from his father and stuff like that. But first, he was just considered a weakling and all this other stuff. So then he had his other brother too that was trying to do the same thing. He trained relentlessly and it really just wound up destroying his body and he became an experiment and tried to challenge his father and it went downhill. Yujiro is like this big powerhouse in the series and everybody that challenged him they lost pretty badly, especially Baki. Even at the end of this fight he lost pretty badly. But his father named him the strongest. He still lost pretty badly though. Because if you look at all the injuries he's had, he pretty much broke and shattered every bone in his body. And his eardrum, he couldn't even hear. It was so bad. But he was able to. The fact that he was able to still stand and walk and talk and stuff, it was kind of, yeah, it was crazy.
40 seconds of this video, my love for this series is complete.
That's Dopo. That's Dopo. I think he got killed and then came back to life. Dopo. That's old Dopo there.
Unironic. For all the absurdity, there's a heart to Baki that makes it feel different from just about anything else. And to begin to explain why, I'd first like to talk.
This is the series when he
Baki's
grew
author,
up.
Keisuke Itagaki. Even
This the one when he could have started out Baki the Grapple when he started out when he was most of that series he was a kid. And then in the tournament, the last one when he grew up and started and fought in that tournament, yeah, that's when it got real intense. And then he learned from all the martial arts fighters that he saw fight in the tournament. He watched them and started perfecting their moves and stuff. I thought, yeah, that was pretty. It was a lot of different things I could like in there. And he didn't just powerhouse through everybody. It was some of those wins were earned, had to be won. He actually lost fights growing up in his training, trying to be because he fought a boxer and lost. He fought who else did he fight and lose? No, the boxer he lost to. It was Gaia. He had a hard time fighting Gaia at first, but yeah, but that's in that's in the original Baki the Grappler. So because he had to fight, he was in the woods. It was in some training. He had to fight some dangerous men, some military men that were real dangerous. But he earned their respect too. They wound up eating dinner together. So yeah.
And among manga authors, Itagaki stands out as someone a little unusual. Two of his previous titles include the series Make Up, which is a manga about, well, makeup, as well as Doge-san, which is a story about a man whose special ability is that he's very good at apologizing. It's easy to see from these titles alone that Itagaki has a very distinctive approach to creating manga, which he himself describes as tools to bring happiness. The thing that stands out about this man the most, however, is his lifelong love of martial arts. Itagaki was obsessed with Kempo as a child and took up boxing in his later years.
Kempo is a hand-based fighting style because I took up Kempo. Got a black belt in Kempo. Studied that one for years. That's what got me into these type of animes. Actually, doing martial arts, studying Kempo growing up, and never took up boxing, but I do have a black belt in Kempo, and yeah, it was pretty. That's what got me off into these martial art animes. So a lot of animes I like or have a lot of fighting, especially and then like hand, fist, and then weapons. So because I love, I even have a katana. I don't have other martial art weapons, but I do own a katana and stuff. So yeah. So I've always been fascinated with martial arts, martial art based animes and different techniques they can learn, stuff like that. So So that's why these type of animes catch my attention.
even becoming a member of the Japanese Self-Defense Force. And you can see this deep affection for fighting just from the sleeves of his manga, which are frequently adorned with photos of his encounters with a variety of fighters from different disciplines. And it's this love of martial arts and combat that is so palpable in every page of Baki. In my video on Dragon Ball Z, I said something to the effect of Dragon Ball Z wasn't a story about fighting, it was a story about a group of characters who really loved to fight. And Grappler Baki is like the complete inverse of that. Baki is a series about fighting for fighting's sake. There's no overarching plot mechanics like the search for the Dragon Balls or the quest for One Piece. There's very little character development outside the different fighters' philosophies on combat.
And it didn't have to be because Baki was just that's what we came to Baki for. Anybody came to Baki for a story, they weren't trying to. They're lying. Anybody says that, they're lying. And I think that's okay. I think Dragon Ball Z should have kept its thing where it's just it should have just had tournaments and stuff like that. Different types of tournaments, different arrange. Just like Yu Yu Hakusho had different tournaments and stuff like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Goku, he doesn't have to be a universal level or a multiversal level, all this kind of stuff. He could have just been a guy that enjoyed fighting in tournaments and just made him fight strong guys. In other world, he's not the guy that you use to save the earth. He just should have been used for tournaments, and maybe to save his friends if they get captured or something. The only thing to save his wife or something. The only way to save her is to fight in this tournament and stuff like that. It should have just kept Dragon Ball tournament based. If you ask me, that way Goku wouldn't look like such a power hungry maniac. But anyway, we ain't talking about Dragon Ball today. Baki doesn't have to have that story that everyone's seeking from other animes, because the fighting is what we came for. Those tournaments is what we came for. Just like the last tournament he fought in Baki the Grappler, that was the peak. That was peak. It really did remind me of. It was actually better than the last tournament that Goku fought in with Piccolo Jr. It was better than that tournament. It was. I could put it over the dark. It was about as good as I think I put it neck and neck with the dark tournament with Yu Yu Hakusho and Yu Yu Hakusho when he had to fight. What was this man's name? The guy that was with Supreme Kai, not Supreme Kai, the Genkai. See, I'm getting all this stuff mixed up. Get Genkai. I think Togoro. That was his name, Togoro. When Yusuke had to fight Togoro. See, that's why some of them run together. But it was Genkai. Their name's similar, so it kind of got me all twisted up. But yeah, that tournament, the Dark Tournament, Yu Yu Hakusho, that's a good one. This one was one of the best tournaments I've seen in an anime. I saw some tournaments in what was that, Hunter x Hunter. Had a couple of good ones, but they weren't. I think Yu Yu Hakusho's Dark Tournament is up at the top. I put that at the top. And you got this tournament here that Baki was in. This was one of the best I've seen. And then you got the tournament that Goku was in with Piccolo Jr. when he fought Tien and all those. There was some really good tournaments out there. But let's keep going.
Combat. But the reason it works is each individual character is imbued with the same love of martial arts and fighting that's so palpable in Itagaki himself. Someone doesn't just do karate.
And that was his brother. Which one was that? The one with the blonde hair that Baki was fighting. Yeah, let's see, where was that?
The reason it works is each individual character is imbued with the same love of martial arts and fighting.
Him right there. That's Baki's brother. Can't remember his name, saved my life, but that was his brother. He's the one that had those scientific enhancements to make his body bigger and stronger. And then he got even bigger in Baki. He had even more enhancements in Baki because he got beat. he lost to Baki. Then he challenged Yujiro because Baki messed his teeth up pretty bad. And he challenged Yujiro. Yujiro put him down. Then he had even more enhancements, any more to make him taller and all that kind of stuff. And had teeth, false some enhanced his teeth, had some stronger teeth put in, and had so he came back bigger and stronger and taller. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's so palpable in Itagaki himself. Someone doesn't just do karate in Grappler Baki, it's seen as a system of beliefs that forge the body and soul of that person.
I remember this in Baki too. That was still fresh. That was in the actual Baki series on Netflix. Uh, yeah, that was pretty.
But the series
There's a lot of
went
stuff
to
in here that
great
was
lengths to illustrate
pretty
this,
freaking
often stopping encounters mid-fight
man.
to explain the specific techniques each martial artist is using, down to the most minute details, like the particular way an individual fighter will clench their fist. And this can slow the pacing of these fights to a
And some of that reminds me, put me in the mind of Dragon Ball. How they used to have these crazy techniques. How General Blue had this thing that paralyzes you, and you have how Master Roshi when he fought in the tournament as Jackie Chun, and how it kind of put me in the mind of Dragon where he had all these humans with these crazy techniques. Cause of course Goku was overpoweringly strong, but you had all these other humans too that had different techniques, and they knew how to use them. And Tien had his forearm technique. It was just watching it put me in the mind of Dragon Ball. This goes in more detail and it's better written than Dragon Ball. One of the animes I said it was way better written than Dragon Ball, but because it didn't have all these crazy transformation power ups, it's just straight up martial arts techniques. Now Yujiro is this extreme powerhouse, but he's also an expert martial artist too. On top of that, so that makes him unbeatable. But this is what I liked about this one because it didn't have all that. Those you just power up and beat your opponent. It didn't work out. It didn't work that way because Baki even lost to other human fighters, and because he got outsmarted, especially the guy that had those wires and stuff that broke out of prison, and he was able to use the oxygen in the air to poison his opponent, and I thought that was pretty neat.
crawl, but it does put across just how much of themselves these characters have poured into mastering their individual fighting style.
And these people, all this was in the anime too. That's this kind of stuff was in the anime. All this where it's hand off. People used to hurt themselves, and people in fighting they used to get their arm broken in 3 or 4 different places. You could just see it, and it's just you can see all the blood and gore, and you can tell, hey, this is not for kids. This is not yeah. And Dragon Ball used to have that, but they, of course, we know what they did with it. But this is another thing I liked about it. It was pretty gruesome.
And so the drama comes with the question that forms when two of these fighters who both equally believe in their own martial art collide. One of my favorite instances of this comes in Baki Part 3, Son of Ogre, in which Retsu, a kung fu master who has dedicated his entire life to mastering
I believe I saw that too.
the 4,000 years of Chinese
That may be the one where he fought his dad, but I have to be sure. I'm not sure.
Kenpo goes up against the dangerous Pickle.
See, we're refreshing our memories together, boys and girls. I'm not coming to you as I know everything about there is to know about Baki. No, not right now. I've forgotten so much about it because I don't watch it as often as I used to. Even though I love it, I enjoy the anime, and I should have watched it. I should watch it more. I'm going to watch it more because, yeah, I'll probably go back and rewatch Baki, the actual Baki, and the Baki the Grappler. So I can go back and catch some more things that I may not have seen before, and go back and because sometimes I have to watch it a couple of times to get a full understanding of what's really going on, what's really happening. Just like with Breaking Bad, when I watched Breaking Bad for the first time, I was just but the second time I watched it, it made a lot more sense, and I started to catch and see a lot of more things in it. So it goes to show sometimes you have to do it. You have to watch certain things more than once. And I watched Baki once, But I'll go back and watch it some more. So you'll probably see more content as I gain a better understanding and learn all the characters and what they do and where they go and how they fit in. But this show is not it doesn't have a deep story. It's just a bunch of random fighting, which I do love about it. And so it won't take me long to really just fully grasp the whole entire series. So, yeah.
Who now, bear with me here, is a 190 million-year-old Neanderthal who was discovered frozen
I remember
in a
him too.
glacier before being thawed out and declared.
I remember him too. He was a beast. I think I think he was even stated even Baki that Baki couldn't beat him or something like that. He would give Baki a hard time. But he was a beast. A lot of the people that challenged him couldn't beat him.
The strongest living creature on the planet. And so, the question that this encounter presents is, can Retsu's sublime technique and lifetime of training overcome Pickle's overwhelming raw natural power? With the fight turning into a surprisingly moving meditation on what it is to dedicate your life to something and still have it not be enough. I should also note
That kind of reminds me when they fought the androids in the android arc. They trained their whole lives on them to get dog walked by some robots or some cyborgs that never trained a day in their life. They just had enhancements and all the knowledge of the Z fighters. They didn't really train ever. They just Vegeta trained all his what shattered Vegeta's pride. He trained for 3 years after the androids, after Goku, to try to surpass Goku, and then trained in the gravity training, did all this training just to get his arm broken. Uh, yeah, I understand. That explains why he spent 3 days in the rain just staring, wondering what the heck happened. So, yeah. uh, some people are just stronger than you, and nothing you can do about it. Nobody was training on Earth, but that's what that reminded me of when I saw it.
that the example I've just given is ludicrous. A kung fu master fighting a caveman is a insane concept for a fight, and what's more, it's one of only dozens of other equally outlandish encounters that
I remember that one too when he finally beat the gorilla. I remember when they trained together, but then because they became friends, they bonded over that. But what sucked the most is Yujiro went and found him and stole and killed him and gave him the teeth. Gave him, I think he found him, he brought him the head of the gorilla or the monster or something. He went and found the beast and killed him. And what Baki did before the tournament, before he fought his dad, he swallowed the teeth so he could be with him in battle or something like that. But this was when he was doing part of his training to face his father.
over the course of the series. Grappler Baki is silly. Really, really silly. But despite this, the story actually takes itself incredibly seriously. There's nothing supernatural in Baki's world, and it never veers into self-deprecation or winks at the audience, which only adds to the absurdity, but it also gives Baki what I can only describe as an endearing level of sincerity. The events being
Yeah, it's no crazy transformation power. It's just sheer martial arts skill and ability. That's what makes it. That's what makes it such a good anime. It ain't all that crazy stuff that you see in the kid crap that they have now.
portrayed here are unbelievable. They are ridiculous, but it
He took a hair and I remember I seen that too. He took a hair and put it in his eye.
feels like it
So it's
again
just
believes
just
them. As a
technique.
result, we end up kind of believing them too. And it ends up being difficult not to get drawn into the bizarre logic of Baki's world. When Baki gets slammed so hard that his body liquefies, we believe it. When the muscles on Yujiro's back form the shape of a grinning demon, we believe it. And I've never really been sure on how self-aware it
Yeah, because it was
is of
freaking
this aspect
crazy,
of the
man.
series, but it's his commitment to his own fiction that's always kept Baki from being just another wacky martial arts series, instead becoming something strange and even weirdly beautiful. I'm guessing right now the use of the word beautiful is going to have raised some eyebrows among you, especially in relation to how this series looks. And I get that. The artwork of Baki is about the only thing more bizarre than its story.
And also credit to this channel. I'm gonna have to link to this video in the description if anyone wants to watch it. That's not because yeah, of course we give credit to the original people around here when they when if I use your video to react to it, give commentary to it, it's gonna be in the description. And just in case people want to watch it without all the commentary, and people want to go to their channel, things like that. So it doesn't hey, because we just don't otherwise it's just stealing. So, but anyway, let's keep going.
The characters are depicted as these grotesque portraits of masculinity, vascular nightmares of the human form, where anatomy is to be abused and distorted. And I can understand if that's off-putting to a lot of people. But
Not to me, it doesn't really care because it's just a cartoon, and they all really just look like bodybuilders to me.
Imagine being able
Because
to do a
people
nap with your
look like
feet
this in real life.
just by thinking about it.
The bodybuilders,
Base 44.
the bodybuilders,
out here.
bodybuilders actually look like this in real life. You go to different competitions, they're just greased up, and I've seen a lot of men and women. They look like this in real life.
There's a big difference between not understanding human anatomy and having that understanding while actively fucking with it. Break down any of Itagaki's figure work and you can see a very clear, albeit highly exaggerated understanding of human anatomy and musculature, coupled with an intense eye for detail. And if you're cynical about that, just look at this illustration of a shoe. Look at
Oh,
the
really?
love and observation that's gone into conveying each tiny part of it. And taking drawing like this
Yeah.
into account, it's hard to argue that Itagaki is anything other than an extremely talented draftsperson. And so if you wanted to draw more, we'll say reasonable looking figures, he'd be well capable of it. And so the question now becomes, why does he choose to draw humans like this?
Well,
The
because
answer
this is
is,
anime, he wants
nothing is
to.
more important to Itagaki than illustrating figures that convey weight and power, even at the expense of
That's just the
condition
style he chose to write in.
feel, and it works. There's a sense of physicality and strength to the characters of Grappler
Because
that creates
it wouldn't look like Rook Riders if they didn't have any muscles, any figure, but they was doing all this stuff they were doing in this anime because it's detailed. And then when the injuries come, the injuries are more detailed. It just makes everything detailed, and it over exaggerates to grasp the attention of the eye. It's a psychological part of it too.
a solid, nearly three-dimensional feel. And in a story where every major encounter hinges on two people pitting their bodies
And it does make a 2D drawing look 3D. It gives it a 3D look. So yeah,
against
I
one
didn't think
another,
about it like that.
that feeling of solidity is vital. So, whatever your personal opinion of the art style of Baki, I think it's hard to argue that it isn't at least suited to the story being told. But there's a second layer to Itagaki's technique that elevates the combat of Baki, and that is his mastery of gesture. Gesture is a term used in life drawing, the idea being that any pose of the human body, there is a central line that runs from the base of the feet to the tip of the skull, with a skilled artist being able to identify that line and accentuate it to create a sense of movement and intention within their drawing. And this is a technique Itagaki is adept at. Within his
Yeah.
illustrations, there's always
Well-
a very clear and readable central line that flows through the character, and one that, despite all the detail, gives them a sense of momentum and speed. In fact, he's so good at conveying this line, he'll even sometimes extend it beyond the character's body in the form of abstracted punches or kicks, where fists or feet aren't even illustrated, and yet we still feel the impacts. It's the combination of both these principles, Itagaki's ability to imbue weight and physicality into his character work, and to move those characters with a sense of flow and gesture, that gives the fights of Dr. Baki a real feeling of brutality and strife, which in turn
Yeah, it adds a lot more detail. When they punch people in the face, you can see their whole face caving. It's crazy. You see them break a leg or something. It's insane, man. They have an arm shatter when they dot someone's eye out. And like when Dopo lost his eye. Dopo shattered his hand It's just when Yujiro actually wipes the floor with somebody. The guy said that knocked Baki unconscious with the poison, used oxygen as poison. Yujiro punched the man, and his whole head just flew off. You could see the bottom of his jaw, and the whole top of his head was hanging. All this was ripped from front to the back. It was crazy. He ripped all of this. He just punched his head, and this part was still up, and this part of his head was hanging backwards. That was freaking man. Yeah, adults only. I wouldn't let any of my kids watch this until they were high school or college or something.
Communicates just how badly each competitor wants to win. And so, every part of Grappler Baki is built around the idea of fighting. There's never a moment in the story when we aren't either experiencing a major fight or building anticipation for the next big showdown. And building anticipation is the final part of what makes Grappler Baki's fights so captivating. One of the many ways pro wrestling and battle anime are alike is the idea of building heat for a match, to create as much anticipation as possible so that the audience will pay to see the conclusion. And this is something that
Dragon Ball was the world. They amped up Goku versus Frieza for the longest, and then but Baki did it too. A lot of animes did it.
Grappler Baki is adept at. It has this way of building up its characters so that they feel like these legitimate, dangerous monsters. Meaning when it's actually...
I remember him too. He was kicking butt at 14. He was that size and just beating the crap out of people. Him and Baki became friends, I think, after their first. Once they fought, he was that dude, man. He was like this at 14.
Fight, we're already invested. And it does this with the same level of absurdity found in every other part of the series. But just like the rest of the series, it is effective. For example, Jack Soma was a ghoulish fixture at his local gym. A disturbing portrait of
Baki's brother.
He'd spend out.
Baki's brother, that's the one that Yujiro conceived in the military, took advantage of a woman, and she gave birth to him. That's how he was born.
Obsessively pounding away at the heavy bag in the vain hopes of one day achieving the strength he'd need to face that man. But all his sweat and passion would amount to nothing. Born with a slight frame and ineffective muscles, Jack's refusal to rest and his obsessive need to train would only damage his body further, leaving him exhausted and frail and robbing him of the strength he'd need to compete in martial arts, causing those around him to view Jack as a ghastly spectre of failure, first earning sympathy, then ire, then ridicule. This would continue until the day that a leading genetic scientist visits Jack's gym, and upon seeing the skeletal figure pummeling endlessly away, sees within Jack the perfect combination of physical weakness and stringent mental discipline that would make him the ideal candidate for a revolutionary new performance-enhancing drug. And the results are dramatic and horrifying. Jack's body quickly grows into a twisted nightmare of strength and power. He begins shattering world records and surpassing all human limitation. But still, it's not enough. With Jack developing an uncontrollable addiction to the drug exceeding its maximum dosage and driving his body to terrifying new heights as he re-enters the world of martial arts. And years of ridicule and hatred awaken a brutal side of Jack as he leaves a trail of broken bodies in his wake. With Jack slowly descending into a violent madness, the scientist who had once sought to help him now realizes the horror that he's unleashed upon the world and takes his own life.
Yeah, I don't know why he would do that, but yeah, I remember that too. But yeah, he looks exactly like Yujiro. Baki looks like his mother, but he has Yujiro's face. And but yeah, he was obsessed because his dad took advantage of his mom. That's how he was conceived. So, you know.
But not before informing Jack that the strain on Jack's system has become so severe that he only has 6 months to live. And so, in Jack's final days, he steps forward and enters the Maximum Tournament as a literal time bomb of rage and violence, obsessed with facing the one known as Baki Hanma. So, just to note again, this story is ridiculous, but I'm also willing to bet that there are at least a few of you right now.
See, look how his arms is all twisted and contorted. That's the kind of stuff. That's real anime. Kind of stuff you see in adult type anime. This is. I thought this was a very unique fighting style. I mean, fighting art style. Cause you look at the no arm. I hadn't seen. I've never seen an arm look like that ever. Never, like ever.
Who are very curious to see what happens to Jack and how he fares in the Maximum Tournament. And it's that feeling of anticipation that pulls you through Baki's story towards the next major fight. So at this point, I'm hoping I've convinced at least some of you that this is a series really worth getting into. And so the question now becomes, where should you start? Well, in terms of anime, the 1994 OVA...
At Baki the Grappler, then you go into Baki, because if you won't understand Baki without watching Baki the Grappler, you just won't understand it.
It about the first 50 chapters and has some really cool animation. The 2-season 2001 series remixes the start of Baki's story, but covers basically the same material as well as the Maximum Tournament arc. But it does have a very limited animation style, especially in the second season, which was completed only a few months after the first, and it really shows. And so with that in mind, I actually recommend starting with the most recent 2018 series.
Not really. I would say you can start in the beginning. It won't hurt nothing.
That might sound a little unusual, as the 2018 series is a direct continuation of the Maximum Tournament arc and begins about 276 chapters into the story.
And this is the guy that the one that beat Baki in the thing, and and Yujiro knocks his whole head back sideways. This is the one that actually Baki lost to. He used the he had wires, he had blades and things like that, but he also was able to take the oxygen and turn it to poison. So, yeah, so they had a lot of creative moves and stuff.
But think of it like this. If someone wants to get into Batman, they don't start at Detective Comics 27, because that is no longer an accurate reflection of what contemporary Batman is.
But thing is with this, Baki, that was Baki as a 14-year-old. That was him and his journey that led him up to being who he is in Baki. It's not really, I wouldn't say it's outdated. It's just a continuation of the same story. So now if it was rebooted, this Batman was rebooted and rebooted and rebooted and rebooted. So it's not the same Batman, because he had guns and he was actually killing people. That's not the same Batman. So you want to watch Batman, they keep rebooting him, so you can just watch the beginning of the reboot. So it really won't hurt anything, because he was rebooted. Baki wasn't rebooted. It was a continuation of the same story.
And Baki is kind of the same. Both
Not really.
in writing and art style.
Not really.
Well, the series has evolved a lot from its early chapters, and given its lack of any real overarching plot or story outside Baki and Yujiro's rivalry, you're not missing a whole lot by starting at the 2018 anime, which will give you a much clearer taste of what modern Baki is. And from there,
you can watch it and then watch the other ones. It don't matter. Cause I watched Z and then I watched Dragon Ball. It won't kill you to watch them in order, out of order. It doesn't care. It's like anime. Because I started out with Z, then I went back to Dragon Ball. So, doesn't matter. Just like with Naruto, you could start at Shippuden and it won't hurt anything. It really won't hurt anything to start at Shippuden.
You're free to dive into the earlier parts if you decide this series is for you. It does a much better job of translating Itagaki's...
The old set, both of them are good. Baki the Grappler is pretty good. That's how I started off. That's how I got off into Baki, because Baki the Grappler is pretty darn good. The limitation on the animation is that didn't bother me at all. I never really cared for that. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't so bad to where I just, oh my God, it's unbearably watchable. No. It wasn't bad. You can still enjoy the series. It was a pretty good series.
unique visual style and animation, and covers one of my favorite arcs in all of Baki, the most deadly death row inmates arc, in which 5 of the world's most dangerous
Nah, that was a yeah, that was pretty good. I can't lie.
criminals break out of different prisons on different continents and, completely unbeknownst to each other, all swim to Japan in order to be able to face Baki and no defeat. And even by Baki standards, this arc is wild. It's built around the fundamental question of which is superior: pure martial arts technique or the violence and brutality of the world's most vicious criminals. With battles no longer being sportsmanlike contests of skill confined to an arena, but vicious, brutal street fights that can occur anywhere at any time. I could go on for a long time recounting all the insane shit that happens during this series. There's a fight in a roller coaster, a security guard gets his intestines blown out through his ear.
No, that was pretty.
This happens.
Yeah, that's normal. All this kind of stuff happens in the series. Dude literally threw up a grenade. Yeah, stuff like that happened.
Yep. And I've always seen this arc as a kind of
And he still lived after that.
turning point for Edagaki, where he truly embraced the madness of his own series and evolved it into the insane spectacle it is today. But all that said, while I think the Netflix series will give you a great sense of what Baki is, to really experience the series at its fullest, there is no substitute for the manga itself. And that's not even just because of Edagaki's art,
Not really. I watched the whole thing.
but because Baki as a manga
I'm not a manga guy. You know, mangas are cool. I just don't. I'm just not a manga person. I'd rather just watch it.
captures why I read manga at all. What I love about comics is that they're the only form of visual storytelling that can be
Okay,
feasible.
bored now. Anyway, you get it. You guys get it. Baki is a great anime. I'm gonna go back and watch some more of it, and I'm gonna go back and watch the Baki series again, and I'm probably going go back and watch Baki the Grappler in case there's some more things I might want to talk about and things like that. But excuse me. But yeah. I don't want to finish the whole thing. You want to finish it? Link will be in the description. I don't want to go through the whole video because it's just not. I just don't feel like it, you know. But let me know what y'all thinking about Baki in the comments. Anything that y'all remember that I may not remember. Anything might want to talk about in Baki. Any fights, any things like that. Yeah. So let me know what you think in the comments. But I think it was a pretty good series. But I would watch it. I'm gonna go back and rewatch the whole thing. And then I also have to catch up on Bleach. I want to do Bleach stuff. I want to do Baki, Yu Yu Hakusho, because that stuff is freaking awesome. But anyway, Dragon Ninja signing. Catch y'all on the next one.